The Hathor Mystery School is 4 years old today. Yay! So the official date is November 29. So 2020 was when it was founded. And I just realized, by the way, that it's 11/11. So November is the 11th month and 2 plus 9 equals 11. So isn't it cool? I just realized that like right now. But yeah, it's been 4 years so far of incredible transformations, triggering people and really uncovering a lot of hidden knowledge, sharing a lot of knowledge on a daily basis. And it's been quite a journey, honestly. And I've been honoring my values through that process. And, this is part of, being a leader in the new paradigm. We have to find ways to integrate authenticity, but also in a way that's also connected with Saturn. So very consistent, to work with systems. So by integrating the two, so creativity and the more, I would say, feminine aspect of business, but then having also a plan and a strategy, like those two things have to come together to create a sustainable venture. And, I've learned a lot of things, so I'm going to share today about a few of them. Of course, moving in silence has been a huge lesson for me. Not everybody is on your team. A lot of people ask questions because they sometimes are jealous. They want to do it themselves. And they're just basically, gathering some data. And so moving in silence has been, obviously this is something that I learned early on because I realized that people were trying to like steal my ideas or, my systems and stuff like that. And so, and my energy in general. So I had to become very protective of, the Hathor Mystery School. And I've been, building in silence. And of course, I don't show my face here. But, I have other platforms where I do. And those platforms, by the way, I have been posting for more than 11 years. So I've been a content creator. Like I'm an OJ content creator because I've been here from the beginning. And so that's why I have a lot of knowledge as well. That's not only, spiritual, but also very practical. And I teach both of them. And this story behind, the Hathor Mystery School is really about, finding the right mentors, because that is actually something that was missing in my own life. I have encountered many wealthy, successful people in my life prior to, having the Hathor Mystery School. And one thing that I realized is that people really gatekeep information a lot, especially the important one, especially the information about releasing, the cage, the mental prison that most people are in, because a lot of people are very insecure and controlling, and that is how society operates. And, for the most part, it just enslaves people mentally. So most people think that they have to exchange their time for money. And there's a lot of, propaganda around that. And so this is what, selling your soul means, is when you're exchanging time for money, because you're basically exchanging your abundance, your birthright abundance, for like a small paycheck. Like it's really small compared to your potential and what you're actually capable of. But of course, we have to go through a lot of initiations and really let go of the programming and the fears, depending on, our upbringing, of course. And so the Hathor Mystery School is really a space where, people can, obviously learn more, but in a way that's not really conventional, that's not traditional. There's no love and light here. We're all about the truth and dark energy and how it actually operates and how we can manifest very quickly and, very fast with dark energy. But of course, to be able to do that, we have to let go of fear and let go of the fear-based programs, the generational poverty consciousness, or just in general, just any sort of fear. And so, yeah, and the biggest, I would say, lesson through this journey as well has been to really focus on my own personal needs. And so actually the most iconic thing I've done, it's like in my top 5 in my life with the Hathor Mystery School, was to get it funded by mostly Christian men, because for some reason I've been attracting in my personal life so many religious Christian men. And of course, I've made a few mistakes at the beginning where I was just telling the truth to them. And of course, when they realized, they were like, "You're a witch? Like, you want to create a divine feminine temple? So like, you're like a cult leader?" And I was like, "Oh my God, what is happening?" So this is actually how I, like I said, learned to move in silence. And I've used 2 books. So the 48 Laws of Power, which I made an episode about this. And I've also used The Art of Seduction, so both by the author Robert Greene. And that is, specifically what this author is, teaching. You're learning how to operate and, live and thrive, actually, not just survive, but thrive in the society, because he basically explained the rules. And a lot of people don't know the rules. People who are usually educated about those hidden rules are usually people that come from a wealthy background. Usually, sometimes it doesn't happen all the time, but most of the time, or sometimes people just look up to their parents and they can see how they're behaving and how they're moving in silence, and how to, how to build basically by protecting your energy and using dark energy and using hidden knowledge as well. And so, so the Hathor Mystery School has been funded mostly by Christian men, because at some point I just stopped telling the truth. I was like, let me just, tell them what they want to hear. And what I realized is that it is so easy, if you're a woman that's, physically attractive and you're smart and you're kind, to just simply ask money for shallow things. And this is very Saturnian, by the way. It's very cold, because it's also the energy of businesses, right? There's no like emotions. So when you start to embody this and you start to see men as different business ventures or potential investors, but you don't tell them, of course, but that's like in your mind, automatically they're gonna start behaving that way, and they're gonna give you exactly what you want, because a lot of men just like to fund, physical beauty, for example. So it's been really easy to just ask men for like 10 grand to get like a beauty procedure. And then, obviously if you ask a few men within the same day, you can make, more money than what, the average people do. And even business owners, like women have, this much power. Like men have to work hard, like women don't. And that's where the, I would say the frustration of some men comes from. Because I'm telling you, if they were women, they would do not only the same, but they would do worse than that. And those are words from men, by the way. I'm not like inventing that, like I'm not creating that. Like I've had so many men tell me that, like they would tell me, if I look like you, I would be the biggest SLUT, but not like in a physical, like sexual way, but in a sense that they would just find ways to like get money out of men, like to build themselves and to upgrade themselves, to fund businesses. Like think about it, like men have to go to banks to get loans. Women can just have like men giving them money and they don't have to give it back. So it's like a gift. It's a donation. It's not even a loan. It's like I would say like a grant, right? Because you don't have to give it back. And it's very easy for women to do that. And so of course, there are different spaces and neighborhoods where you can or cannot do that. But yeah, it's been a journey. And by focusing on building this really strong foundation and structure, I've also been applying this knowledge in my personal life as well, or even the other platforms I told you about. Because for example, one of the platforms that I've had on social media, I've been building it for 11 years, so I've been through a lot. Like I said, I didn't have any mentors. The people that were older, or like older women that I trusted, would give me the worst possible advice. And at some point I would realize that they were giving me bad advice for me to suffer like they did. And I was like, what is actually happening? So I had to fail forward. I had to make a lot of mistakes before I started understanding a lot of things. And of course, the 2 books that I told you really helped me a lot as well, because I was able to skip a lot of mistakes because of that. I also observed people a lot. And of course, by having a lot of providers and being surrounded by successful men, that was also a mastermind for me without even knowing it, right? Because when you're surrounded by people that make at least $1 million a year, and then the more I started doing it, the more I realized that my frequency was raising, and I started attracting men who make $1 million a month, and then $1 million a week. And then I realized the different patterns, the way they were speaking. And I gathered so much knowledge as well, in that form as well, and yeah, so it's been a combination of practical, business information, but at the same time combining it with my intuition, because, I'm very spiritual, I'm very intuitive. For me, like, the concept of time or the concept of having a job like makes no sense to me. There's actually a lot of things in our society that makes literally no sense to my brain. But when you move in silence, when you pretend to be dumb, and you play with the illusion of the light feminine, you're able to gather a lot of information. And of course, I've been using it with a lot of integrity. I'm not some like evil high priestess where, because I know there's like a lot of narcissistic high priestesses or high witches, celebrities. There's a lot of celebrities that are like that, where they basically harness, and harvest energy from their audience because they don't know how to connect with source. And so for me, it's the opposite. Like my relationship with source is so strong and so solid. Like I spend most of my life in solitude and I love it. I absolutely love being alone and being in nature. And if I'm surrounded with people, it's like children and animals. That's it. Like maybe like less than 5%, depending on the season. Sometimes it's like less than 1%. So 1 to 5% of my time is spent, with other people, other adults. So mostly men, like I said, to gather information. And I've been building in silence. I haven't told anyone how I've been, doing that. And that's why I feel like that's why a lot of people have been opening up and sharing, their knowledge with me, because they feel like they can teach me something, because they think that I'm some random girl, right? Or you know what I'm saying, like they think I'm dumb. Yeah. So when it comes to 2025, so 2024, by the way, was the year of Saturn. So I've been sharing a lot of Saturnian lessons and principles, which is basically the basis of life. In ancient Egypt, by the way, Saturn was considered the sun, so the black sun. And that is why, the founding fathers or the Freemasons have been stealing all this, ancient knowledge, and they created a society based on Saturn, based on the black sun. And that's why we see so many symbolism within our society with that. But because most people are unaware of it, they're actually working against the energy of Saturn, which is extremely painful. It creates a lot of suffering, a lot of poverty. But I have a lot of episodes where I just go through all the different layers and I explain how to work with this energy, and how to, create passive income, create, multiple sources of, streams of income, in order to liberate yourself from the mental prison, that this energy creates when you're working against it. So 2025 is a bit different. I'm actually really excited about this year, the next year, because 2025 is the year 9. It's connected to the other chakra. So Saturn is connected to the root chakra, so the basis, the foundation, the discipline, commitment. Like, it's very rigid, it's very discipline, it's very consistent, but it's very necessary, right? Because whether you're trying to achieve a new goal at the gym or in your business or in your life or anything, you have to work with the energy of Saturn. For men and women, it's a bit different. Men have to work really hard, like harder than women. Women have to be consistent. That's the main thing. Like, think of yourself as the moon, right? Like, the moon always shows up like every single day. So that is the energy, the Saturnian energy for the women. So it's a bit different than men, who have to like literally work from, daylight until it's dawn, basically, because they have a 24-hour hormonal cycle. It's very different. And women don't have to work every single day, every single week. They can work when they're ovulating, and then they can automate their business with AI and technology. So that is how we combine the two. So 2025, like I said, is the other chakra, so the sacral chakra. So it's going to be a very Venusian year, and I love Venusian energy. It's very luxurious, it's very calm, it's very joyful. So once we have established, of course, a really strong foundation in our life, and we don't have to worry about stupid stuff like bills. That's why healers need protectors, by the way. Like, I've seen this quote like somewhere, I don't know who said that, but this is why. Because when you're secured financially, once the roots are really anchored and really grounded, and a woman has a lot of options, a lot of different providers, a lot of different like businesses or income, like a lot of passive income, especially because it's super feminine, they can now focus on their happiness, their joy, their inner world, their physical appearance as well. So the Venusian energy is very artsy. It feels really good. But it's about expansion. It's about scaling globally. Like, the equivalent of the Venusian within the sacral chakra would be Jupiter for men. But of course, a woman has to find ways to embody the two energies. So, for example, in a romantic relationship or a partnership with a sugar daddy, for example, it's really important for the women to really embody her core essence, her femininity, because that's how, magnets are attracted to each other, right? So that's why when she keeps it quiet when it comes to her business ventures, investment, like, she gathers the information from the man or the sugar daddy or the investor, however you want to call them. For me, it's all the same. The husband. Once she has gathered a lot of information from like books and whatever stuff, like in the internet, maybe when her husband talks, then she can make moves, but it's very strategic and it's in silence, because as soon as she's going to tell her husband like, oh, I want to do this, or I want to start this business and I think I can make like $1 million, blah blah, it's going to be emasculating to the men. And of course, like if your goal is to stay single your entire life, of course this piece of knowledge does not apply to you, so take it or leave it. But I'm just giving you game. If you want to learn how to play the game and actually win in the long term, this is how it's played. So, a little sip of coffee. So 2025, like I said, is going to be very Venusian. We're going to be connecting a lot with our soul and just with our own heart desires, and we're going to be very protective of that. A lot of spiritual women think that they have to be spiritual in public, and when they do that, they attract a lot of narcissist people, they attract a lot of users and abusers, because that energy was meant for you. It's sacred. This is why there were temples in ancient Egypt or just in ancient times, because that light, that truth, that maybe light wasn't the right word, but yeah, that truth or love frequency, so it's actually darkness, dark energy, has to be protected, because people who are unconscious or have evil intentions, first of all, have been stealing that knowledge, and they've been creating a lot of issues on our planet right now, and we're going through the consequences of that collectively. The whole thing about children, by the way, and I'm not going to get into details, I promise, not in this episode, but just for example, in the ancient texts, when they talk about children, a lot of Freemasons or Illuminati, however you want to call this group of people, not all of them, but most of them have been reading those texts, and they think, oh, I have to harvest energy from children. But the word children in this specific context was not about actual children. It was about people who are unconscious, that are not awake. So they're actually like, their soul is like a child, because they're not as advanced, or their consciousness hasn't expanded yet. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of men have been reading these texts like in the wrong way, and unfortunately there has been a lot of damages, and a lot of people have been hurt in the process, and it's been going for like thousands of years. And of course things are changing right now very fast, and a lot of people are being exposed for doing that. So we're in the process of change, but things haven't been completely changed, of course. So yes, so anyway, 2025 is going to be the Venusian year. I'm going to have a lot of course, podcast episodes. I'm going to have a new episode every single day, but I'm also going to have new type of content that's going to be more aligned with the Venusian energy, that's going to be very relaxing as well, to really help you tap into this frequency of abundance too, because Venus is connected to women, earth, and wealth. So we're going to be focusing on that energy and really working with it and expanding it. And of course, I always have containers for that specific type of energy. You can look up the Hathor Mystery School. What else am I going to add to this episode? Well, first of all, thank you for your support. I know a lot of you are like me, and you guys are just, silent listeners, and that's how I am. Like, I'm a silent follower, like in general. I don't follow a lot of people. But I, obviously I can, as a psychic medium, I can feel people. I can feel who's watching me. I can tap into the different types of energy. And I'm just really grateful for all the support and the kind words. And I've been reading all your the comments and suggestions as well. And I've been, trying to create a lot more content that's connected to any questions that people have, any struggles that they have, because that is my goal with this whole, mystery school. The goal is to have this new form of mentorship that's very authentic, but that creates like a safe space for people to go through this like rebirth or transformation, like in a way that's very private. And I've been feeling really honored to be that space for people and to be able to guide as many people as I've been doing, because like I said, this is something that I unfortunately had to go through, by myself. But at the same time, it made me into the person that I am today. And I'm able to hold space for people. So 2024 was a year that was more Saturnian. I was very like cold, not cold, but I was sharing, how to get the bag and get sugar daddies and to really create a foundation, because unfortunately a lot of women are not educated on that. So I've been sharing a lot of knowledge, a lot of stories too, a lot of story times that I can share more. I don't mind. I always walk the fine line of, I don't like flexing, but at the same time, I want to show people like what I'm teaching. That's actually my life. Like I'm embodying that, I'm doing it. I've been doing it, or for a lot of things, like I did those things, and it allowed me to, create freedom in my life. So of course I'm going to help other women do that. So thank you for being here. And of course, I'm always listening to your suggestions and your comments. And I'll see you tomorrow for our next episode.